Hello again, my friends. I'm Covenant Ironface and my partner, Drekmo Caress. We represent TeamNO, and we have seen, once again, another movie just for you. Victor Frankenstein.
We went and saw this one a little early. We said last time we were going to try and see it Wednesday or Friday. They had a Tuesday showing.
Yeah, so get ahead of it.
And given the holidays, we decided to go ahead and check it out, and then we have a whole bunch of time off.
Yay!
Yay! Anyways, Victor Frankenstein. I'm sure you guessed what the movie's about. If you don't know what Frankenstein is, well...
Crawl out from under the rock you've been under.
But let's talk about this story here. It is very similar to the story you know. But this story is more beforehand, and a lot of it is from the point of view of Igor. What was his last name? Igor Strauss. Mm-hmm. Frankenstein's friend and assistant. And essentially, it doesn't just go over, Frankenstein brings the monster to life, but where he meets Igor, how Igor gets involved, and his assistance up to the experiment and everything that happens with that, including Igor having a possible love life and such as that. I think that pretty much covers it.
To explain why Igor gets a love life and not Victor is because Igor is Daniel Radcliffe. And like you said, most of this movie takes place following him and not Victor. Though I think Victor clearly upstages him throughout the entire movie. He's very much I'm a mad scientist and I love my job. And, nothing bad against Radcliffe. He's a good actor, and especially in this movie. I made fun of him, at the very beginning of him being Harry, but it clearly goes away, and he's his own person in this movie.
Yeah, and even though in some cases he feels like he's supposed, you're right, upstaged, where Victor's a lot of, I'm big, important, huge ego and charisma, that kind of fits for the character. Igor, despite being more, in this, he's more intelligent than you would think, given previous incarnations of Frankenstein. But he's always been the assistant, the subpar, the hunchback, the second-hand guy. So it seems very much in character, even though Igor is like the main character of this film, to be very behind and in the shadow of Frankenstein, who he's telling the story of from his point of view.
It's just, in a way, I kind of feel like they changed the Igor character to fit Daniel Radcliffe and not Daniel Radcliffe to fit the Igor character. Because they changed a lot of it around, and I don't want to spoil much, but he very quickly is like, hey, you got a hunchback. Click, not anymore, it's science!
Well, not quite. I don't know if you noticed, so I noticed this subtly throughout the movie. He does basically fix the hunchback problem, but it doesn't completely fix Igor. And the entire movie, Daniel Radcliffe is standing like this, with his left shoulder up on one side. Still has a protrusion, sort of, because of who he is and how he is. And that says something about, the character. That's always going to be part of him, even if the actual hump is gone.
Tomato, tomato. Like I said, it wasn't that big of a detraction, just a thought that I had during the movie.
And our only other important character is Inspector... What's his name? Did they ever say his name?
They did. I know they did.
That tells you how important he is.
Well, they change viewpoints and go to this inspector several times. And he does have an important role, but I wouldn't call him a main character.
Well,
He's definitely out to get the duo. He's definitely out to stop them. He's very much I may be a policeman, but I definitely believe in God, and you're breaking the laws of God.
The laws! On our other supporting cast include Daniel Radcliffe's wonderful love interest, who really is only there to, I guess, humanize Daniel from a hunchback and try and convince him that he's worth more than he is. And the evil rich kid.
I thought of him several times as another Draco Malfoy. Like I said, back to the Harry Potter thing.
My family will control this. My father will hear about this.
And he's got the slicked back, golden blonde hair, almost silver in times. I really thought that's all he's there for, but he's...
Potter!
Yeah, pretty much. There's a thing that they do throughout most of this movie, and they kind of put a Da Vinci spin on several scenes. There's, when they're in the circus, the girl flying on the trapeze, and she's twisting about, and Igor looks up and he's looking at it as a mathematical equation, and then they do this throughout the movie, and this is beautiful. I absolutely loved every time they did this. I think the only thing I didn't really like about the way they did this movie is they started with some slow-mo in the very beginning of the movie, which I've complained about enough, but I think it would have made sense if they had kept it going throughout the movie, but it seemed, like I said, I'd kind of get slightly bored throughout in this movie, and I think they realized this as they were editing it together, and they're like, okay, well, we need to get rid of the rest of that.
Slow. This movie was, 2 hours long?
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of parts that really detracted from that. Besides just the Da Vinci thing, there was a lot of very good scenery and imagery. I liked her castle there at the end, which isn't the normal Castle Frankenstein. It was another one in Scotland. So from what we're gleaning, without trying to be too much of a spoiler here, is this is apparently before the famous experiment of Frankenstein, because
this is where they begin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another scene when they're there and they're building up this monster, and they call him Prometheus throughout this movie. And when they're finally ready to try the experiment and get him to life, they have him suspended over a pit of fire. And I thought that was really awesome looking, because Prometheus gave fire to humanity, and now they're giving life back to Prometheus. It seemed full circle.
Yeah, that was a very interesting thing to add in there. But despite the good scenery, it was a long, trailing on movie. There were parts of the story which I understand we need some talking, but this felt more like it would have been best to just go with the book version. I hate to say it, but whole sections of it could have easily been sped up, conversations brought around, pieces left out, and the movie would have been just as complete. With that in, it kind of made it boring for several sections of this movie. Long stretches of they're talking, they're still talking. They're talking about Frankenstein, they're yelling about Frankenstein, now they're talking about Frankenstein again. And I don't know how many times that they can basically be like, "You're mad! I know!
I enjoy it so!"
How many times did he scream at him like, "Hey, this is not science!"
Yeah, but it was, I know, but Frankenstein was hilarious. I loved him. Even though he wasn't, the
It should have been Robert Downey Jr.
No. I think McAvoy did a very good job of it.
So,
overall, for myself, though, I can't really recommend this to other people. My own sense of humor, I really enjoyed it, at times, but like he said, it really dragged on at times. Overall, I would say it's a good movie, but I think it's something you got to have a certain perspective in order to watch it, or be something to watch during Halloween, because this is not a really good movie, especially at Christmas time.
It would have been better if they had released it a month earlier and hit, bam, you say Frankenstein around Halloween, even at the same movie, you would have drawn in a lot. Given the movie, I mean, we barely saw any advertisement for it, and the amount of people in the theater is a good example. It's probably not going to take off too well. I would have to give it a good meh. I enjoyed parts of the movie, but because of the trailing on and problems like that, I don't think it was worth to see in the theaters. I could really see, throwing this on at home with a couple of friends, just handing hey, this is great. But overall, DVD. I'm sure it'll hit there probably fast. It might have been best to have gone straight there.
Speaking of trailing on, that's what we seem to be doing.
Yeah.
So, if you think it might be a good fit, go check it out. Otherwise, wait for it on Netflix. Coming up in December 4th is another spy movie. Yay, we have so many of those this year. Is MI5, and I think it has a subtitle, but I don't remember what it was. It basically looked like an actual serious spy movie, not a comedy, and it's not a James Bond film. So we'll have to see whether or not it's actually any good. But it does look interesting.
But we wish you a happy Thanksgiving, of course. Yay!
And Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you want to go for. If you want to listen to more of our rants, you can always click like here, subscribe down below, and of course, we will see you next time.
See ya.